This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Fire Island in the Super Ladder Wars third place matches. This is a best of 5 between Proffloff, who's going to be playing as Empire, Cyan in this mech, and WalfTheWolf as the red allies in the top right side. He will be playing allies, I'm sure, throughout the majority of this series. And I do want to mention this is going to be a mates team kill, so that does suck for mates. However, that being said, I have no idea who is ultimately going to come out ahead in this series. It could be either one of these players, as they're both fairly well established. Red Alert 3, well, I don't want to say pros, because there really are no Command and Conquer pros, but they are experts or borderline experts. I don't know how much they've been playing lately. But they are two players who do have a fair amount of experience, and they may not be the best in the business, but they are in the third place matches, and that is kind of awesome anyways. We do have lots of infantry streaming out from WalfTheWolf, not a huge amount. He just went for that single barracks. Really what he wants to do is secure this oil derrick. That is why he's pressuring forward with his infantry. But on the other side, he wants to make sure that he doesn't lose to any sort of Imperial rushes. And this map, Fire Island, a lot of players do sort of say, well, you know what, on most maps, it's much easier for Empire to expand, and that is, for the most part, very true. However, Fire Island, it is quite easy to secure a third and a fourth because they're all in relatively close proximity. However, we do have the airfield going down before any sort of expansion, which is pretty standard for allies, but we do have the second barracks still going to be pumping out units. The MCV has been redeployed in a little bit of a better expansion position, and the barracks in the main is still standing as well. Javelin Trooper does get sniped. The third barracks is actually still on the map, interestingly enough, which means it could be used in a minute or two. The Apollo is out, has been spotted. It could be used in a minute or two to recap or to cap that oil derrick. However, we do have the first Vertigo. It should be going for that dojo to take it out. While the Peacekeepers are going to be moving in on the Imperial Warriors, the Mecha Bay is down. It will be spotted relatively quickly by WalfTheWolf. His Vindicator going to be turning right around. Was able to claim that dojo core, and almost an engagement there. We do have still more Imperial Warriors streaming from that dojo, but the Mecha Bay is being camped by that Vindicator. The Apollo circling the air, not doing a whole lot, as the third bay has been established now, which, as long as WalfTheWolf can continue camping his opponent and just keeping him locked in his base, unable to really expand, Proffloff is going to be storing up money that he simply can't safely spend. And then on top of that, this is a tough choice for WalfTheWolf. I think it would almost be worth it just to go for the core and get the damage down. He could have taken down that oil or that ore refinery almost before it deployed. He would have had it a lot closer to death. Defender VX going to be heading up to the front line as the oil derrick does go down. And actually, it would have been a gutsy and a little bit of a dangerous move for WalfTheWolf, but he could have rushed in here, bombed the actual core versus bombing the building, and then rushed in with Peacekeepers and finished it off. That very likely could have happened. It didn't happen, so we'll have to see if WalfTheWolf is able to make it happen with his Apollos. Two of them going to be guarding these Vindicators. Vindicators do take out the Defender core rather nicely before it actually gets any shots off, so they take that out. That's a nice hit for WalfTheWolf, although he is going to be going for that almost going to be going for that oil derrick. Good pullback at the last moment there. Going to be selling the barracks because he really doesn't need it. Vindicator is going to be going out for another bombing run. We have a lot of Imperial Warriors, but this can be pretty easily thwarted by exactly that. A multi-gunner turret, throw a shotgun trooper into it just to add a little bit of extra damage, or even pull the Vindicators back to do some extra bombing runs on those units. The Apollos racing back to base as well, as the Vindicators have done their job. Not sure exactly what they did. Might have gone for some Tengus. However, the Engineer, it gets sniped there as Proffloff able to take down WalfTheWolf's Engineer, and a nice small hit. These two players may be a little bit timid of each other, but on the other hand, neither one of them wants to rush into an unsure situation. They're not too keen on, getting on with this team kill, but at the same time, they're not too sure what their opponent is doing, and these two players could have played against each other quite a bit. A second airfield has been established, which means we can see up to four Apollos and 4 Vindicators before we see any cryocopters, which is kind of curious. We haven't seen any cryocopters. The 4th base is down for WalfTheWolf. It may very well be sniped by Proffloff. That would be a fairly safe move. The Harvester will be forced off the line. However, the Apollos will get some free shots in there. 4 Apollos are out here, which is going to take some really stellar micro to take those down. 2 more Tengus do go down from the Vindicators, as the Guardian tank will be pressuring that oil derrick just to take it down. This is certainly paid for itself, and then quite a bit more as the 4th ore node has been established. Relatively passive opener by both players, not super passive, as 6 Apollos take to the skies. 2 Riptides going to be heading out to the left side of the base, and those 4 Tengus are going to be pulling back. The tier 2 is absolutely essential. Proffloff really did need to get off of that tier, just the tier 1 Tengus. He's going to need the Tsunami tanks to really contend the Guardians, but also they'll do great against holding off Riptides, both for this water expansion, and then also running over Peacekeepers in any major land engagements. And Vindicator's going to be moving out. Will they be going for the ore collector itself or the ore refinery? Almost worth it just to go for the ore refinery and relieve the actual Harvester itself to the Riptide. Oh, sacrifices a Riptide. The second one will likely go down as well. 2 Riptides for the price of 1 Harvester. Yeah, pretty solid, pretty much worth it. However, what's not worth it is bombing your own Riptide. But with the Tsunami tanks there that close, he probably could have sniped down a Tsunami tank, and maybe would have still been able to get that darn Harvester. It's hard to tell, and I can't criticize WalfTheWolf's decision-making of that engagement too much. There was possibly a better way to do it, but he did pretty well overall. The only thing is his Riptide was too close, and the splash damage ended up killing it. That's really the only major complaint. Going to be going for a little bit of Harvester harassment. A good move, however, they will get sniped down by the Apollo, so not as great of a move as he would have liked. However, 1 Harvester will likely get taken out, although will the Cryocopters possibly freeze down these Tengus before they actually are able to kill that collector? No, they will. Yes, they will, in fact, be able to take down the... Okay, they're right there. I was worried once again that WalfTheWolf was actually going to splash down his own collector, and I'm not sure if the splash damage will still happen when the unit is frozen like that. Because the Emperor's not the Emperor's discharge, but rather the honorable discharge, will it actually affect the building? Yes, it does indeed. So that question has been answered. Even when units are frozen, they still do explode upon death. Guardian tanks once again being produced by WalfTheWolf, and both of these players again just sort of taking a back foot, not really wanting to go for any big engagements. They're trying to pick off Harvesters here and there while they get their big, hopefully, final engagement death ball. That's what they want to do. They want to bring it down to essentially one big battle, see if they can sweep the map in their favor. What'll more likely happen is both of these players take some pretty heavy losses, and then they both pull back to once again rebuild. These two players are going to be, I'm not sure if they're completely evenly matched, but right here we haven't seen either one of these players make a huge mistake. There haven't been a lot of big blunders in this game so far. WalfTheWolf has expanded a little bit quicker. Proffloff hasn't really harassed all that much. And one cryo shot going to be enough to take down that Harvester. May actually just go for the ore refinery as well. Would probably have been worth it, especially since there's no units actually going there to engage. He could have taken down the entire refinery. No Harvester is building there, but the third will be getting a Harvester rebuilt. WalfTheWolf already going to be running that Harvester away from the Tengus of Proffloff, and also the Tsunami tanks. They will escape. They will take a little bit of damage here. No actual hull damage was done. A couple of shots fired by Proffloff. However, the Tengu's going to be swooping in here. Where are the Apollos? They're a little bit late, but they will get one kill before the Tsunami tanks do go in, and now the one Apollo will go down. However, a second one could be claimed as well. The Cryocopter is going to be escaping relatively scot-free, and so does the refinery. Does manage to escape. However, the Tengus are going to be going for the Apollo on the other side, meaning that they all did have to turn around. The Apollos getting in up close and personal, while the Tengus are taking damage even from that Javelin Trooper. So there go all of the Tengus, meaning that no longer is there anything to contend the air superiority of the Cryocopters, the Apollos, and the Vindicators of WalfTheWolf, which means that these Cryocopters can just feel free to start freezing down more and more targets, especially out on the water. They could go out and make another strike against that refinery, considering that WalfTheWolf did actually lose his entire refinery. He will need to go ahead and rebuild that as quickly as possible. Throws away another 2 Tengus. And oh, Proffloff is taking his situation from bad to worse as he's throwing away more and more units. You do not want to be throwing away those Tengus. Going to be possibly losing an additional Tsunami Tank. Is there anything out here? Yes, the Vindicator will go ahead and drop bombs onto it. Wouldn't even be a bad idea, yeah, to just chase down these Tsunami Tanks and drop some more bombs on them. Do a little bit more damage. Needs to make sure that he takes this out at some point, whether it be a Riptide in a moment or just dropping a single bomb from... Oh, and these Tsunami Tanks may actually get caught off guard from the Guardian Tanks on the land. WalfTheWolf, nice kill there. He was able to snipe down that one Tsunami Tank, going to be establishing himself a 5th ore node. His 4th is up and rolling. Once again, just going to be selling off that outpost. Not a bad idea. In fact, essentially something he needs to do. Tsunami Tank's going to be coming in here. The multi-gunner turret will absorb a couple of shots, even though it is powered down. It is still going to be able to absorb some shots, and I guess WalfTheWolf there just brings it online right as these units do attack. The Peacekeeper's going to be getting some shots off, but they will not make that big of a difference, as we do now have a fully heroic Tsunami Tank, but cannot really deal with all of these Guardian Tanks that are rushing down in here. The Prospector going to be able to escape, and oh no, the Tsunami Tanks will be running away. They do not really have a choice at this point. However, they could get frozen down once again. Note, all 3 of them do escape. One of them taking pretty heavy losses, and we do have not cryo shots, but rather striker VXs going to be heading up this army as Vindicators do make more bombing runs. And a cryo shot could be absolutely deadly here for WalfTheWolf. He is going to be getting attacked down here. Could be actually losing one Guardian Tank, but he's trading it for 2 of those Tsunami Tanks. One of them a fully heroic, and the infantry are going to be forced back. Not very many of them will get caught. 4 of them in total will be taken out. However, a couple of Guardian Tanks will get caught in the frozen Ice Beam as well. However, the refinery still stands. That Guardian Tank has got double veterancy, and WalfTheWolf doesn't quite have this game, but it's getting closer and closer to being in his grips, and for him to really just sweep the rest of this game into his favor. He's got the superior army, the superior economy, and Proffloff has thrown away quite a few units. Not only just the Tengus earlier in this game, but a couple of Tsunami Tanks down here as well, and this one Guardian Tank will be able to do a fair job of running over these units. We'll have to see how the micro is going to be for Proffloff. I don't know if he'll be able to make it come out all in the end. No, he is actually just going to be completely turning and running, although, spoiler alert, that Guardian Tank is not going to be able to really do a whole lot out on the water. Instant snipe, or nearly there, as the Peacekeepers are going to be rallied down from the north, and they may be able to just completely catch this attack force off unawares. 3 Cryocopters up here sitting there doing absolutely nothing, as we do not have an expansion up there. It is a Tsunami Tank. The 3 Cryocopters really do need to be brought down here. They could change the face of this battle, freezing down the heroic Imperial Warrior if he survives the day, but also freezing down these Imperial Warriors to allow the Peacekeepers to do exactly that. Turns out he didn't need to really do anything, although one Tsunami Tank does go down. The other ones will be frozen relatively quickly. The Guardian Tank sweeping up the rest of that army under the rug and then crushing it under their treads. And those Tank Busters do not stand a chance as they get eliminated there. Even the damage reduction that they do gain from being in the ground did not matter. WalfTheWolf going to be forming up one final offensive, as massive amounts of Tank Busters are going to be heading to the base of WalfTheWolf. He is going to be deciding to not engage, or to rather not attack, to instead pull back and defend. One refinery does go down, meaning these 2 players, for almost the first time in the game, Proffloff is going to be ahead in economy, but does he have enough to actually deal with this army? And I would say it would probably be good for Proffloff to just go ahead and just trade bases to hit back, or WalfTheWolf rather, to trade bases with Proffloff and to just go ahead and start hitting back. The transform did end up being the end of those Striker VXs. They transformed from being those choppers to being the Strikers, and instead they got frozen down, taken out by Peacekeepers. and Vindicators. I think WalfTheWolf pretty much has this game. A couple of Mirage tanks being mixed into the army. Proffloff still can take this game, but we'll have to see if he is actually able to win this next engagement. If he's not able to, then that will surely be it. There's no IFVs here to deal with the Striker VXs, which means it'll be all up to the Javelin Troopers, which are not going to be doing very well. They're going to be doing tons of damage because these units are going to be frozen in a couple seconds, which means they do like instant kill damage, especially to that Tsunami tank. A couple of units will be getting frozen there, and that Imperial Warrior got a kill or two, so good on him. However, splitting up of the army, and not all of his units are engaging here, as there isn't a whole lot that can actually happen. Another Mirage tank will go down. However, the Tsunami tanks simply are not in great enough numbers for Proffloff to really be able to come out ahead in this game. There goes the barracks, and soon the Athena cannons will work down the rest of this base. One Tsunami tank not going to be able to make the difference. The Striker VXs are doing a ridiculous amount of damage, way more damage. Where are the actual Apollos? Proffloff has been defeated, though. That was coming for a couple of minutes, but WalfTheWolf playing that game out very well. Proffloff not able to do the economic damage that he was. I want to take a quick look at the resources graph before we head into game number 2. Surprisingly, not that big of a difference, as I guess Proffloff was able to do enough damage to keep it close, although WalfTheWolf did certainly have better income at that entire game. Was able to engage a lot better in some of those engagements, especially with the Apollos versus Tengus. No point defense drones means that those 6 Apollos were able to do quite a bit of damage. But that will do it for this match. Let's head straight into game number 2, which is on Battlebase Beta. And once again, Proffloff, Cyan Empire versus WalfTheWolf, Red Allies. A convincing game number 1. But Proffloff is not out of this, and this may be a mate's team kill, but that does not mean that one of these players can walk away with slightly more third-place glory than the other players. Of course, after this series, we are going to be going ahead and taking a look at the finals, but that will come only after the third-place matches, as we do have dual dojo, or dual barracks rather, versus the dojo, which actually... Oh no, this is going to be quite disastrous, possibly, for Proffloff. Going for single dojo into triple expand. This can pay off big, huge, massive dividends, but I have a feeling it's going to be scouted very quickly by WalfTheWolf, and then he'll know that, A, he can just continue producing these wonderful, wonderful Peacekeepers, maybe even mix in a couple of Javelin Troopers. No, he sells off both of the barracks! Oh, this could actually work out. It will still be spotted, and there are still definite some timings and advantages that WalfTheWolf can pressure onto his opponent, and actually he may have enough Peacekeepers right here, right now, to make this happen. We'll have to see if he's actually able to do the damage that he needs. WalfTheWolf going to be getting a kill on an Imperial Warrior or 2. They were headed for the building anyways. So I guess that was not a very good exchange there for Proffloff. However, Proffloff, this is of course the point that is very, 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 very dangerous for that early expand as Empire. It is so tempting to do, but this is the very dangerous point of where you don't have anything, because you have to spend 7,500 credits, 3/4 of your initial starting money, on getting up those expansions, and then of course you need power plants, ideally at least 2 of them for those 3 refineries plus the Mecha Bay, and he's actually going to be going for a docks core as well, which, I mean, if you're going for the docks because of the tsunamis, then it's good to go docks before the Mecha Bay. Although, if you would like to get out some Tengus, which I would seriously suggest, since the airfield is down, and we are going to be seeing an early third from WalfTheWolf, which is good because he needs to be able to match the eco of his opponent. And this MCV, will it get the crushes? I do not think it will. I don't think WalfTheWolf will let it happen, but he might get the crushes that he needs. Even the dog will escape. Unfortunate for Proffloff. He is going to be using his MCV to sort of provide blockage for the Mecha Bay, which means he'll be taking some extra damage and going to be forcing the Peacekeepers over here. And I guess that the Peacekeepers aren't even going to be getting blocked off by the wall until it actually finishes building. And oh, that Imperial Warrior could actually just be blocking off. No, he's going for the building. He's not going to be going for the block on that refinery. But going for the building and then being able to do a little bit of damage to that refinery is not a terrible idea. A couple of Vindicators going to be going in for a bombing run, and the dog going to be chilling out here next to the dock saying, hey, that's what's going on. I didn't know you had a docks over there. Going for the Yari mini sub. A curious choice. I guess it would make sense if Proffloff thought that his opponent was expanding over there, but Proffloff should know that WalfTheWolf, in fact, does not have a water expansion, and there isn't a whole lot of reason for WalfTheWolf to go ahead and go for that water expansion. He just needs to be able to keep the damage on, keep the hurt on to Proffloff, and then he will be able to take game number 2. But Proffloff, if there isn't anything that happens about this earlier third that he did take, then it will end up paying off in a pretty big way, but we'll have to see. It's a very hard build to execute. We do see Proffloff is feeling very comfortable. He's going for a fast fourth, so he is really wanting to put on the eco. He's putting his economical hat on, and he is saying, you know what, this is the right time to expand. I may not actually have any units, and I could practically die at any moment, but this is the time to expand. The Cryocopter going to be able to freeze down this Harvester over here. Could maybe even go for the expansion, just take out the refinery as well, and then that would bring these 4 bases down to 3. Since there aren't going to be a lot of Tengus, and I'm not actually sure. He does have 1 Apollo there, a 2nd Apollo, maybe bringing up the, with these 2 Apollos, he could definitely go for the refinery. There aren't going to be that many Tengus out this early with the triple expand opener like that. As you can see, he's actually only got 2. He did rebuild the barracks, and he has been pumping quite a few Imperial Warriors, but even so, it is quite hard to actually get a convincing amount of Tengus, and a couple of Tengus could get sniped down by the Apollos. They're going to be going for the Cryocopters, which that's a good engagement if you can actually get the Cryocopters, but oh, that Tengu surviving with hardly any health at all. Has the Harvester been revealed? No, it's not even being queued. Either Proffloff simply doesn't have the money, or he did forget about that. Either way, that is not a good situation to be in. But a Vindicator is going to be making out a couple of strikes here and there, taking on Imperial Warriors every which way around the map. Not a huge deal as another Tengu crashes to the ground, although a Cryocopter was eliminated. However, he traded at least 3 Tengus for that Cryocopters. And one important thing to note is that the burst drone is going to be keeping that that ore harvester, keeping it down just a little bit, giving it the blues. Although into Guardian tanks, a solid choice because it will allow him to run over quite a few Imperial Warriors, but also just contend the middle, anything on the ground, contend the middle of the map, but also pressure the third for Proffloff. As you can see, Proffloff, he's got more bases, but he doesn't have more units, he doesn't have more defense. Slowing down this harvester is just a nice touch, and needs to really make sure that he takes down that Tengu at some point, as that will free up his Cryocopter to then start freezing other things. And do you know that you can in fact run over units? WalfTheWolf, it would be more economical than just simply shooting them, but also taking down that Tengu would also be a really good idea. That is going to be 2 Apollos skirting the edges of the map, and not going to be a strikeout against this refinery just yet, or rather that Harvester. Tengu going to be going down, and that Imperial Warrior pulled out his lightsaber to try and get into a building just a little bit faster, because that is what is really important. Although going to be going for a tsunami tank, wasn't able to actually do enough damage to kill it. However, good transform there on the Tengus, and it's kind of hard to say exactly what Proffloff can do to win this game. He needs to go for Tengus, he needs to go for tsunami tanks. But the thing is, he needs to do that and then control much better than WalfTheWolf. He also needs to do some harassment, which is all very fine and easy to say, but it's much harder to actually execute, as he's got all of these things on his mind. And even if he's not taking this tournament super serious, and he's not super worried about getting the 3rd place title, he should still be somewhat interested, or else he wouldn't actually be playing. Well, no, the Guardian tanks are going to be actually completely pulling back, as this is a good time to do a dual-pronged attack, but I guess WalfTheWolf isn't feeling quite safe enough to do it. He doesn't have a whole lot to deal with those tank busters, at least not quite in this army. And oh, here come the Cryocopters. They could freeze down both of these tsunami tanks, and they do, but the tsunami tanks also do just freeze and hold position. And oh, we do have 4 Tengus. They are in good enough numbers to contend the Apollos, but not in good enough numbers to straight up overwhelm the Apollos. And WalfTheWolf picking apart this refinery time and time again, sniped down 3 harvesters from it, or at least 2. A couple of peacekeepers did get taken out, but we still have the 5 guardian tanks, or rather 4 guardian tanks, in the middle of the map, the 5th one over there, and these Apollos can just switch out all day. A fully heroic Riptide is on the field, as well as a veteran Riptide, which will just add a little bit of punch to this army, or allow those counterattacks to be a little bit more powerful. Proffloff really is going to be scrambling over the next minute just to try and stay in this game. He could get some magnificent shots off with the tank busters, catches a single guardian tank. That's not enough to even the score. He needs to catch out the remaining 5 guardian tanks without taking hardly any losses to even start to even things up, as WalfTheWolf has just been so comfortable this entire game. On the same note, WalfTheWolf needs to make sure that he takes a fourth of base at some point in the next 5 minutes or so, that he can stay ahead of his opponent. Or else, if he allows, well, alternately, or just continues shutting down the potential 4th base of Proffloff, he could do either one of those things. The Tengus are in pretty scary numbers, and they do have the point defense drones. However, out on the water, you can't send one Tango out to deal with heroic and veteran Riptides. That is just not a good situation. And the Peacekeepers are going to be able to kick out a couple of these Tank Busters, 4 of them at least, which is a pretty good trade-off, considering those Tank Busters were a serious anti-armor component of Proffloff's army. He really should have pulled them out of there while he had the chance, but he can't pull them out when they're that close to the Peacekeeper. And actually, with this many Tengus should be able to overwhelm those Riptides. They would take some losses with the heroic torpedoes of those Riptides. However, they do force them to turn and run, not even attacking. So that was a good move by Proffloff, able to completely deny both of those Riptides while taking only 1 Tengu loss. So that was pretty solid by Proffloff. WalfTheWolf looking to engage on the left side of the map at the 3rd base. It will take the Tengus a minute or 2 to get over there, as they all did recently transform. But no, I guess Proffloff is actually going to be taking some pressure onto his main, and the Tengus have transformed again, which means they won't be able to do anything about this army. So Proffloff needs to hold this army off, just delay it long enough for these Tengus to be able to transform, take out the infantry, and then hope that his wall and tank buster micro is good enough to take down these guardian tanks, as the guardian tanks are going to be going for the refinery. One of them will be slipping through the walls and not actually going to be getting eliminated. The forces weren't there quite in great enough numbers for Proffloff to be able to deal with that 1 single guardian tank, and the oil derrick is not taking any damage despite the fact that the building has been captured. Apollo's streaking back across the sky, and these tsunami tanks are going to be pushing forward, but they're likely not actually going to be doing any real damage. Even a couple of IFVs being mixed into the army just to provide any protection against any aerial Tengus facing Apollos, but then also any sort of striker or chopper VXs. And tsunami tanks being given away practically like it's charity or candy at Halloween. And that is not something that you want to be doing, and also not a sight that you see very often, as cryocopters actually shooting up. Quite unusual indeed. However, throwing away a couple of more Tengus when Proffloff really can't afford to give away any units like that. Was able to take down 1 of those cryocopters, but now the cryocopters will be able to help these IFVs overwhelm these Tengu forces. And that one gets eliminated. The Mirage tank is on the field, and these Tengus are going to be effectively just running right into the mouth of the Apollos. They might get another cryocopter, but it's simply not worth it when you're trading. Snipes 2 of those Guardian tanks. Or rather, I shouldn't say snipe, since it was complete luck. Going to be running over a couple of Javelin Troopers. Is it actually going to be worth it? Trades it for 2 Tsunami tanks. It is going to be close to worth it if he's able to snipe down a couple of more of these Guardian tanks. However, the Mirage tanks are on the front line, and the Tsunami tanks going to be rushing in. They're able to do massive amounts of damage to the Guardian tanks, but it's still pushing forward. 3 Mirage tanks, count them, as they get veterancy in line. However, we do have a couple of more Tsunami tanks still on the map, and in that last engagement, a tremendous amount of damage was done to WalfTheWolf, but simply was it enough? There were so many Tengus that were traded just before that battle, and Proffloff has simply been trading inefficiently for pretty much this entire game. Another Tsunami getting sniped, a second Tsunami just right there in those couple of seconds with those Mirage tanks. And oh, another tsunami will be sniped down right there. They're just being given away. You can go down to the corner of the street and you can get tsunami tanks for free. This is not tomorrow. You have to save your tsunami tanks like you'll need them tomorrow as all of the tank busters go down and that extra tsunami tank. Only one Mirage did go down. Right there, Proffloff has been defeated. 2 games to the credit of WalfTheWolf. But you gotta hand it to WalfTheWolf, able to take 2 games off of Proffloff. Proffloff not playing the best, going for something a little bit risky there. WalfTheWolf didn't punish it nearly as early as he could have, but instead he played it safe. He decided to just stick on his 3 base, mass up his armies. He knew that he was going to have an advantage if he was able to keep Proffloff down, but he couldn't let Proffloff get too crazy. He had to snipe down that 3rd base. He had to keep himself ahead of Proffloff in at least some way, because as you can see, the economy was better for Proffloff for pretty much that entire game. In summary, roughly the same amount of ore collected over the course of the game, but that was really only because of WalfTheWolf's ability to take down those harvesters. However, that will do it for game number 2. Into game number 3, which is on industrial strength, and once again, Proffloff Cyan Empire versus WalfTheWolf Red Allies. 2 games in a row. WalfTheWolf has simply punched down Proffloff repeatedly. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a little bit more of an orthodox opener from Proffloff. He's not going to be going for a triple refinery, or at least I assume he's not going to be going for triple refinery. We'll have to see. No, WalfTheWolf isn't going to be going for a dual dojo. Instead, just deciding to stick himself with just that pretty standard single dojo, or single barracks, not dojo, rather, into refinery. However, the dojos are going to be thrown down relatively in close proximity, all 3 of them, in fact. The 3rd one is not going to be simply just for getting sniped by the allied player. However, Javelin Trooper will be getting cleaned out. A couple of them there, although that might have been a Peacekeeper down there. I do think it was a Peacekeeper in the building. The dog will be seeing exactly what's going on, but more importantly, he wants to make sure that there is not an early 3rd being taken by Proffloff. He needs to know whether or not that is going to be happening, since that is an option. However, this map also kind of curious because the 3rd base relatively close to your main base, and then you are able to quite easily secure number 4 and number 5 because they can be taken with just 1 placement of your MCV for only $29.95. But we do have a bunch of Imperial Warriors, and it looks like just going to be going for the same oil derrick that WalfTheWolf actually already claimed. No, he's going to be going for both oil derricks, so that is a much better idea. The burst drone has been shot down, and an early 3rd is going to be taken for WalfTheWolf. So we'll have to see if he's able to defend that well enough. The first Vertigo is out, and it does take down that Engineer. Nice snipe there by WalfTheWolf. However, he will instead not be able to snipe the Engineer on the right side. So now Proffloff is not going to be in as good of a mood as he would have been if he was able to take it down, or if he was able to capture that oil derrick, since he does want that 500 credits cash back. But some early damage being done to the MCV, likely not going to be playing that big of a role in this match. Good splitting of the bombs by WalfTheWolf. As you can see, he splashed down a couple of those Imperial Warriors with just a single bomb, which means that his next bombing run will be a little bit more efficient. Pretty darn good micro there from WalfTheWolf. Really close there as he almost lost all of his Peacekeepers, but he in fact did not. He got the last shots in that he needed, was able to really do the damage, and then look at that, switching over at just the right time. WalfTheWolf with that great Peacekeeper micro switches over just the amount that he needs, and then he's going to be able to clean up these Imperial Warriors with inferior numbers of Peacekeepers, which Imperial Warriors, you always want to engage well with them as allies because they do cost less than the Peacekeepers, so you want to make sure that you're always engaging properly as allies. And, well, you are able to do more damage, but it does take you longer. Oh, that refinery almost getting sniped. A third Vindicator would have finished that off quite nicely. Proffloff doesn't actually realize in how safe of a position he is to go ahead and take that 3rd. There was actually no harm more to be done to that refinery. Instead, these Vindicators are going to be refueling. However, this Harvester already going to be taking a little bit of damage, not a whole lot of damage, but these Vindicators could go out on another bombing run. I do not think they'll get to the refinery core before it's back up to full health. and the Cryocopter will allow this single Peacekeeper to gain some sort of hero award for just taking out a massive amount of units. Going to be able to take down 3 of those Imperial Warriors before getting shot up himself, or likely shot up himself, as the Apollos are going to be chilling around on the high ground, and the third base has been spotted by that dog, which is just being chased around. WalfTheWolf, what is this? It was almost like he was trying to probe deny the natural base for a Zerg, but he unfortunately wasn't able to build a pylon with his dog. Imperial Warriors all going to be getting caught up in a single file line around that one single unit, as the Defender VX Core did get sniped down there. Great move by WalfTheWolf. Proffloff does have his third established quite a bit later than WalfTheWolf. He really does need to do some damage to take it down, although he does hold both of the oil derricks, and as such, he is going to be taking a little bit of more, and money, and nice kill there by Proffloff. Catches 2 Cryocopters completely out of position. No, he will not. He will get the second one. Trades it for only 1 Tengu. That is a great deal. Last game, he was throwing away tsunami tanks like they were just being given away. This game, he claims 3,200 credits almost out of the gate within the first 5 minutes of those Cryocopters. Why is that even more important than just the amount of money that he just cost WalfTheWolf? Because this third base is relatively safe. Even taking a 4th base at this point would be relatively safe because there's no Cryocopters to take down those harvesters, which means WalfTheWolf is going to have to do it either waiting for those Cryocopters to rebuild, or he's going to have to do it in more bombing runs than just that one, or try to get lucky with a cryo shot. Hope that Proffloff isn't paying attention in this building. WalfTheWolf, what are you actually doing? I'm curious as to how much he's actually spent on walls in this game alone. 3 Guardian tanks are out on the map. We do not yet just have, that is quite possibly the tier 2 upgrade, although I think it's just an additional Tengu. The Guardian tank's going to be able to take down that. Oh, has the expansion actually been spotted? I think it was in fact spotted. I think that refinery was spotted. Guardian tanks are going to be able to take down that building. Riptide ACV going to be heading out for WalfTheWolf, and even a tank buster slowly fading into the ground there, as it looked like it was running, but it was not actually. It was falling into the ground. Tengu's going to be able to be out in mass, which means this expansion is going to be completely safe, and more strikes. Oh, narrowly escaping there for WalfTheWolf, as that Apollo almost got taken out, almost got simply caked by those Tengus in great fashion, and a 4th base has been taken by Proffloff. And at this point, there's so many Tengus, there's no Cryocopters to really shrink them down, to freeze them, and to provide a constant threat, because the Apollos, they can be taken down, and then you're like, alright, there's no more Apollos. But just when you think that there's no more Apollos, then that's where the Cryocopters could come in, and then suddenly all of your Tengus are transformed, and they're all on the ground being bombed to death, or alternately being shot up by a Javelin Trooper, because this one single Tengu may actually go down. Proffloff, what are you doing? He will lose that one Tengu. No, it'll escape barely. The Apollos do give chase, finish it off at the last moment there. However, they were not actually able to get chased down by the Tengus themselves. So good escape there by WalfTheWolf, and this oil derrick being the spot of probably highest contention in this entire match, as the Riptides are going to be trying to escape out to the water. One Riptide will go down right there. A second one will be called on over. However, the Vindicator is going to be able to take down one of the Tengus. Not a huge deal, as these Riptides are going to be able to engage fairly well, going to be microwaving relatively well, enough to keep his Riptides alive longer. But in the end, running these Riptides away like this, he is just going to be losing those other ones, unless he's got an ace in the hole to take them down, or to somehow have them escape. But trading in for a couple of those tsunami tanks, will he actually be losing that Peacekeeper that is completely heroic? Yes, he will. Loses a second Peacekeeper as well. The Tank Buster is going to be doing a little bit of damage to these Guardian tanks. The Guardian tanks are going to be getting blocked off by the Tsunami tanks. No, never mind. They phase right through the Tsunami tanks and are able to run over those Tank Busters anyways. WalfTheWolf narrowly able to come out ahead in that engagement and clean up the attacking army of Proffloff. Proffloff, that was a relatively cheap attack force, though. He wasn't too worried about using it. He wants to keep his Tengus alive. He wants to be able to maintain control of this 4th and now soon to be this 5th base out on the right side of the map, while on the other hand, he wants to make sure that he's keeping an eye on the potential 4th and 5th of WalfTheWolf, because this is the point where we'll get, as the Empire player, where we will simply be able to mass so many units and just throw away units, and of course do stuff like this, multi-pronged attacks, which he's not actually attacking multi-pronged. There goes another cryocopter right there. So the cryocopter collection agency will not be coming to WalfTheWolf's base simply because they know, hey, he may have great debts, but he doesn't actually have any cryocopters for us to collect. But Tank Busters forming up in a mass. Tengu's going to be getting eliminated one by one with the help of this cryocopter. They should be able to escape on out of here. They will take some losses. I guess they're just planning on camping on top of these Guardian tanks, or running right past the Guardian tanks and escaping out some other way. The Riptide is going to be out on the right side of the map. However, the ore collectors are going to be parked right on top of that Riptide, making sure that they do take it out. A nice trick there by Proffloff. However, Proffloff going to be heading in and attacking straight on this armor facility in a frontal fashion. One more Tengu will get eliminated there, but as you can see, the harassment is just going to be too good for Proffloff at this point. Even the Guardian tank wasn't able to get off enough crushes to really make this army stop in its tracks and turn around. One more tank buster will go down. Good control by WalfTheWolf, but in the end, it is simply not going to be enough. Both of those harvesters have been taken out, but his front is being pressured. He will actually hold here, might actually get the kill on one of those tsunami tanks, and it looked like he was actually starting to crush that tsunami tank, which would be quite unfortunate for Proffloff. Proffloff, now we do have 5 Apollos on the field. A second airfield has been established. However, the Riptide is still going to be working away at these refineries. The Apollo's moving into position just to help protect against any sort of Tengus. And actually, WalfTheWolf is going to be transforming his position from that of being just stomped all over by Proffloff to actually being in a pretty good position as he throws away a couple of Apollos there. No micro needed there by Proffloff simply because he has such superior numbers. A couple of Tengus did go down. One Apollo did go down as well. But 2 refineries will be taken out, or at least one might be taken out, depending on when these Tengus do transform. They do get the snipe there. Perfect timing there by Proffloff. And then the point defense drones, which means this next engagement with these Apollos, even though there are 6 of them, these Tengus could very well take them down, as we do have far more Tengus, a total of about 9, I do believe, which will be able to take on these 6 Apollos. 2 more Tengus going to be mixed in there, and yes, Tengu mass is very, very good. Kind of boring to watch, but it does lead to some really unique and interesting micro opportunities for our Empire player, such as engaging Apollos, especially when they don't have the point defense drones, where they're really forced to engage at just the right moment and just the right angle. However, at this point where he's got point defense drones and overwhelming numbers, Proffloff could just throw away these units in the straight-on fight with the Apollos, and then go ahead, take down the cryocopters, and make sure that the Vindicators stay grounded. But that's assuming that he has a ground army to do the killing, while his Tengus remain in the air. Once again, a couple of Riptides moving out on the north side of the island, going to be heading down to these expansions, and going to be able to likely eliminate at least one of those harvesters before anything is able to come to their rescue. One cryocopter will be getting taken out there, as WalfTheWolf loses another cryocopter, and these Tengus are in good enough numbers to actually just camp the airfield. They're not even going to be worrying about camping the actual airfield. They're simply going to be going for the Harvester kill, which Harvester kill is something that we didn't see nearly as much in the other games. However, they are going to be going for that fully heroic Mecha Tengu. They will be able to take it down right there, and the Apollos are going to be moving into position. Proffloff not doing a good job of actually routing his forces together and keeping them all out of danger. 2 of the Harvesters will go down, so it's going to be a straight-up fight, 2 for 2 Harvesters. However, the Apollos are not going to be in a straight-up fight because of those point defense drones. They will be getting eliminated by the Tengus. However, the Tengus are now going to be sweeping off to the right side of the map, where they are going to be able to deal with these Riptides, although only after the Riptides took down 2 Harvesters and 2 of the Refiners. Cryoshot going to be delaying this attack. However, a couple of these units are on the near side of WalfTheWolf's base, able to take out the barracks there. And one tsunami tank will go down there. I don't know if Proffloff or WalfTheWolf has enough to actually stop this attack there. Although he will get the crush on one of the tsunami tanks. I thought it was going to be 2, but he was not able to get the second one. However, one power plant will be forced down. And I'm trying to decide if it's better to try and head in there with the Mirage MCV. That would be pretty awesome. But with the MCV and then go in with the Guardian tanks to try to get the extra damage and the final crushes, or to head in with the Guardian tanks first and then move in with the MCV. I think it's better to move the MCV in first. However, the crushes simply were not good enough now that the Tengus have rejoined the army. Proffloff not actually going to be looking to re-establish that 5th base, instead just going to be sticking with his 4, and he seems to be confident enough to move in here. He needs to make sure that he keeps his Tsunami tanks on the front line, but far enough away from the MCV where they won't actually be easily picked off. Going to be controlling relatively well enough, will be losing one of the Tsunami tanks. A couple of tank busters will go down as well. They need to turn around and engage. Some of them at least need to be turning around and engaging the MCV. He can bring up that entire pile over there. WalfTheWolf was defeated in game number 3, which means we take it to game number 4. Will WalfTheWolf simply finish out this series, or will Proffloff take us to an ace match? We'll have to see, as game number 3 does go to Proffloff. Real quick look at the resources tab. I'm actually kind of surprised that WalfTheWolf wasn't ahead a bit further in the beginning, but ultimately in the end he was able to. WalfTheWolf wasn't able to ever take his 4th and 5th base. He did a much better job of harassing in that match. However, Proffloff did as well, and you have to hand it to Proffloff. He engaged quite well, played it a bit safe. Again, not really high-intensity matches, but still just good standard matches, or at least this one was much better. However, let's head into game number 4, which is on Infinity Isle, and once again, Proffloff Cyan Empire versus WalfTheWolf. And this game is going to be possibly match point, but Proffloff may be able to take it into an ace match, which I always love seeing ace matches, as it usually indicates 2 equally skilled opponents and often will lead to some pretty awesome games. Going to be a single dojo with the possibility of a second dojo, or a second barracks. I keep calling allied barracks dojos for whatever reason, but no, it is not going to be 2 dojos, which can be quite dangerous, particularly on Infinity Isle, where it's relatively close rush distances. If the Empire player ends up going for that double or triple dojo and pumping out a lot of Imperial warriors, it can be very difficult to deal with as allies, especially if you're not right on par with things and taking down their units effectively and efficiently. But we are going to be seeing a little bit standard of an opener by WalfTheWolf and also by Proffloff, as the oil derrick capture is a little bit late, and oh, that engineer has not been rerouted. Alert to Proffloff. He needs to reroute his engineers. No, he doesn't. He's actually going to capture WalfTheWolf's own oil derrick, which is not something that I actually thought he was doing. I thought it was just a rally point, and he forgot to route the engineer back to his own oil derrick. Burst drones and dogs going to be getting off that standard scout, and once he sees the mecha bay, he's like, okay, everything is a-okay. We're going to be seeing about 5 Tengus before the tier 2, probably, although each player does like to vary it up a little bit. And I do believe that civilian structure was damaged enough to where it won't actually be taken by any of these players. They will not be able to go ahead and garrison that structure. The first Riptide is out, and it was a naval yard, so no war factory just yet. The Imperial Warriors going to be going for the Peacekeepers. He has to be very careful. He has to use his Riptides to make the Imperial Warriors kite around them. However, the crushes won't be super spectacular. They will be good enough, though. A couple of Peacekeepers will be able to escape, as the Riptide did take, I think, a little bit of damage from that burst drone. It's hard to tell exactly how much damage was done. However, the first Vindicator is claimed. Yes, it is claimed by that Tengu. Get out of there, Proffloff. He needs to make sure that he trades 1 Tengu, or he doesn't trade 1 Tengu for a Vindicator, because that would put him even further ahead if he's able to take out the Vindicator without losing a Tengu himself, especially since he's going to be losing a couple of Tank Busters. And it's almost worth it just to pop the Tank Busters out of the ground and get a couple of shots off before they die, versus doing no damage and still dying anyways. It really does depend on whether you want to delay those units or not. And Apollo is going to be getting taken out by these Tengus, as they will finish it off. Maybe. No, it does escape, albeit barely. If he would have actually focused that Apollo, then it simply would have gone down, but Proffloff was not able to actually do that. WalfTheWolf going to be going for the kill on that oil derrick instead of for the recap. But a couple of more Imperial Warriors will be getting cut down. They may be able to escape, and no, they are not able to escape. The third base is going to be established for both of these players, both of them going for the ridge rather than going for the water expansion. However, we do have Tengu's going to be heading into each of these refineries. They will be scared off by the Apollos, which means that, over here, the Apollo will be going for these Tengus as well. One on the outside, one on the inside, which means these Vindicators will be pretty darn effective. And I think we only have one airfield. Yeah, we do have only one airfield, which means it's only one Vindicator, which means none of these wall segments need to actually be sold off. I don't know what the point of that was. He just killed off that Tengu for absolutely no reason. It would actually be better for him to just use a bomb to force WalfTheWolf to use a bomb on that Tengu instead of giving him the free kill with the Apollos, where the ammo is not nearly as important. One Riptide will go down, trades it for a Tengu, but also trades it for a Harvester. Those two Riptides have certainly paid for themselves, considering they allowed WalfTheWolf to take down a Harvester, deny that expansion just a little bit longer, as he is going to have to spend the 1,400 credits to rebuild it, but then also loses that mining time, even more so because he's not staying on top of that Harvester reproduction. Airbase has been once again established as a second airfield, is now on the field. Would be surprised if we didn't see a couple of more Vindicators added on. At least one more Vindicator should be added on. A couple of Peacekeepers going to be getting split up here as WalfTheWolf wants to keep the damaged one in the rear. Another Riptide going to be heading out across the map, and once again, if this third base is allowed to live, then WalfTheWolf needs to do something about it, but more importantly, Proffloff needs to do something about WalfTheWolf's expansions. He needs to harass and hopefully take down at least two Harvesters to put himself back into this game. And, well, not that he's necessarily way out far of this game, but he's starting to slip behind, especially since we have another harassment opportunity coming in here. And this is a situation where you shouldn't necessarily stay around to try and take down the refinery, but in other situations, it definitely is worth it. Once again, a Tengu going to be getting eliminated, not even having to waste any bombs on that. However, the Striker VXs aren't actually going to be able to do anything anyways. We could see a relatively short game number 4. If this attack does enough damage, the Apollos will be able to take down these Tengus. Will they be able to get all of them? Yes, they will indeed, since this last Cryocopter will escape. And that is game number 4. Proffloff has been defeated. This series has been taken by WalfTheWolf as he takes third place in the Super Ladder Wars. We will be taking a look at the finals in just a few days. We will see you then. This is Sybert signing out.